Hi, nobodies. Um, another rainy, gray day, but I got a fridge now. um, so I started reading this book. It's a guy had translated Michel Montaigne's uh, essays, and I was reading about the man himself. And wow, I mean, I haven't even read the freaking essays yet. These were written like 1570 something. Um, I haven't even read them yet, but just reading about this guy back then, who was so fucking woke, if I want to use that word. Um, Not only was he this wise man, he took the time to write it down. I mean, there were probably a lot of people that thought like him. I mean, not a lot, but enough. But those people didn't write it. Maybe because they didn't have the education that he had. They said like his parents, he lived in France and he didn't speak a word of French until he was 6. They wanted him to know Latin, and so people were forbidden to speak Latin, speak anything but like Latin to him. His parents made sure that like his he had peasants as godparents and nurse. Um, and this guy, he did a lot. He was a mayor, he was a soldier, he was a lawyer, and the whole time he was like having these deep thoughts about um man in general. But in talking about man, he basically just talks about himself, like the human condition. And there was something I wrote down that I really thought was neat. It it spoke to me. Man is not intrinsically different from the animals. His advantages are only of degree, and at that they're doubtful. Numerous tales show that animals can rival man in intelligence and conduct. Man is proud of his knowledge, but it's more harmful than helpful to his happiness and virtue. Worse yet, it's vain. Man's reason, the instrument of his knowledge, is defective. Powerless to determine his moral life, it is so variable and contradictory that it cannot even determine truth. For all knowledge depends on our senses, and our senses are imperfect and complete. If man had 8 or 10 senses instead of 5, there might be some hope. Um, Favorite line: inevitably, we distort whatever we perceive. There is yet one final handicap. We are ever changing, and therefore we have no contact with the world of real truth, which is eternal and immutable. Unless God lends us his help by divine revelation, we must remain forever ignorant. Because you can only know yourself. You can't know this other. But he even wrote stuff about like, when people say, "Well, I didn't do anything today." You lived. you know, that is like what you're here for. You did that. you know. He's a very interesting guy. Uh, and like I said, I'm really happy that he wrote his thoughts down, because people have these thoughts, and lots of uh, authors read him and used his style, his ideas, maybe reworked them or whatever, and didn't give him credit. Not that he cared, because like he wasn't he wasn't really super famous in his time. He was, but he wasn't. And during his time, there was like holy wars going on between the Protestants and Catholics. They've been at it for a long time. Um, and he was friends with Henry III and Henry of Navarre. And even during war, when he took Henry III's cause, he still entertained Henry of Navarre on a couple of occasions. So this was somebody who says, I can't fight for you, but you're still my friend. I still like you. Come over. you know. I mean, that's somebody, and he was talking about, they said that he would talk about, just like, uh, you have to constantly be, like work on truth. Truth is very important. It's like one of the big things of morality is to be honest. Be honest with yourself, with everybody. Just put it out there. Um, so I'm looking forward to reading some of his work. I'm actually reading from an old ass book, but and I could look it up online. And if anybody who watches this, not that anybody watches it, but Michel Montaigne. That's Montaigne. Um, you should be able to find him. He wrote a lot of stuff, and it, from what I was reading about the stuff he wrote and some of his writing, it's like, wow, life doesn't really change. Technology changes, but people are pretty much the same. And he didn't look down on quote unquote primitive people like cannibals and stuff like that, because that was their nature. Um, at least that's what I gathered from what they were saying about cannibalism, which he did write an essay on cannibalism. I'm looking forward to reading that one. Um, but I really liked when they said, inevitably we distort whatever we perceive. Things get mixed up in our heads. And that's a major design flaw. Um, he also said, like, people don't owe it. Like, he didn't write, he, from what I understand, he didn't write about religion too much, because even though he was very religious, he grew up, like, I think his mom was a Spanish Jewess, and he grew up around a bunch of different faiths. So he considered himself to be Catholic, but he was not a super, like, he was religious, but he wasn't a religious writer. Which, if he would have been a religious writer, his stuff probably would have got, he'd probably be like Shakespeare to everybody. Everybody'd say, oh yeah, Shakespeare, I've heard of him. you know? Because it seems like if you write about God, people take notice. They're like, oh, a book about God? I got to read a book about God. I don't know. I don't. I prefer not to. A friend of mine was saying they like watching Christian movies, and I'm like, I don't like religious movies. I really don't. I get upset if I go to watch something and I think it's about one thing and then it ends up being a religious movie, because I'm like, I didn't sign up for a God film. Say, hey, you tricked me. That's why I never watched like Passion of the Christ. It's like, I don't care. I don't want to watch that. It just does not appeal to me. And I find myself, when people mention God or whatever, I find myself going, I'll smirk. I kid you not, I smirk about it. Because I think it's because a lot of times those people are self-righteous, and I don't like that. And I don't like sheep. Think for yourself. And this was something that this guy would tell people. Don't believe what I tell you. Think about it. Does it sound like the truth to you? Think about it. I mean, I'm not saying that religion is wrong, but most people who don't talk about it a whole lot are a lot better people than the ones who do, which is weird because you would think it would be the opposite, but no, it's not. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm kind of bored, but I'm going to get some insight from this dead guy. I had a good day, and tomorrow's going to be a good day because I'm going to make it so. I hope you had a good day. For those of you who don't watch me, every day I say every moment is an opportunity to turn things around. Just think you're changing. Think you're changing. Change your thinking. Positive thoughts do work. I'm not going to say it's going to take away the pain of like somebody dying, the big stuff is still going to hurt. Just like a baby laughing is always going to feel good. The baby's laughing. Who doesn't like that? Who isn't happy about a happy baby? I don't even know if Ted Bundy could have resisted smiling about a baby. Positive trumps negative. So I'm going to go now. Have a good day.